Welcome to Scott's Music Cave. I have a very special guest today, Josh Rivera from the University of Kansas.
Yep.
And he is studying music education as well as a few other things.
Yes, music and African American studies as my minor.
Nice.
Yeah.
And he came by the shop today because I just finished overhauling his Mark 7 alto saxophone.
Yep.
And it was a mess. He bought it a mess, not his fault.
Yeah.
And I've gone through it and I've made it awesome, and he hasn't even tried it yet.
Nope.
Actually, have you even picked it up yet?
No, I have not. I'm so anxious to.
So,
Man.
I'm just going to kind of give you a rough rundown of what I did to it, but
Yeah.
I took it all apart. I cleaned it. It was, as you know, very dirty. The pads, everything was on it really old. So I replaced everything.
Yeah.
And part of that process, I take out key play. I straighten rods. I align posts, because some of the things that happened, had a couple issues on this saxophone where the posts weren't in perfect alignment. And so you start to get those keys tight, and the posts are a little off, and then that ends up flexing the rod, and then your tight key work ends up making keys bind. And I had a lot of that on the saxophone. And same thing with just getting like the heads of the rods aligned so the rods screw in straight.
Yeah.
And just makes the keys work really smooth. And I just had a lot of that on the saxophone. A little minor dent work, nothing major.
Okay.
If you'll notice, the sax is very quiet.
Yeah, there was a lot of like ticks and like loud noises going into higher registers, and then some notes didn't even come out clear. It was bad. I had a lot of pieces I played that were at quiet moments.
Oh, yeah.
And it was just coming out very loud. It was like, and it was just bad.
Yeah,
So,
you're going to get noise. I mean,
yeah. See, I couldn't even hear the low.
Now it's really thumping.
Yeah.
But I do a lot of stuff where normally a vinyl key tube would be, I'll wrap it in felt, so you notice these side keys are they're really quiet. I mean, you're gonna get a little mechanical noise, and of course when the pad closes, you're just gonna get that.
Yeah.
In the lower stack, I have felts under the key feet, which actually they do that from the factory as well. But when those keys open, I mean it's
coming up, and
it's almost no noise. And if you really put some control on how that key opens, you can make it almost silent.
I was going to say, too, that it definitely was a little confusing to see which key went up and went down, like for which was sealed and which was not sealed. Yeah. So it was, I could see it, but I couldn't see it till my teacher looked at it, until you showed it as well, to be like, you put a light through it and see which is coming through.
Yeah.
And so that was also another thing. I was like, wow, that's why some notes are not coming out as clear as some, or because there was another, like something up here would be open and then all that's closed, so it would make something sound flat or sound very sharp.
Yeah, so I took care of a lot of key venting issues and the alignment, just like not just alignment of posts and stuff, but just getting the keys really nicely aligned. And I like to wrap the octave key pip with felt as well, and that so when that hits the octave key, it's fairly
Really?
quiet.
Yeah. So there wasn't anything on that?
It had a vinyl tubing. Actually, this might have had felt on it. I can't remember what was on it now, but yeah, I like to put felt back on them if it's. In most cases, if it's a student model horn, a lot of times I'll put vinyl because it is more durable.
Yeah.
Because that's just glued on. So if you were rough with it, it could potentially come off. I mean, you won't have that issue, but if it was a student model horn where the kids are a little rough with it.
Yeah.
Some of the things I'll do, like on this E flat key, where it just hits on the hinge tube of the high F key. I put a really dense tech cork there, and that way that key just feels really solid. And I did a combination of
I see the felts there.
Of the dense felt that I like to use, and then natural key corks, and I did use some vinyl tubes in certain areas, like this octave key has a vinyl tube there because that's.
So you took the whole thing apart.
It was
right back together,
Yeah, and then all the tone holes are checked and leveled.
Jeez.
Let's see. Most of the tone holes were in good shape. I did level them, but most of them were pretty solid.
Was there any screws, like you had to put new screws or anything on from being worn out or anything?
I think all the rods I were able to keep. I did cut that rod down because it stuck out a little bit. So I cut that down so it was flush with the post.
And that's funny too. I don't know if that's just like a playing thing I had, but a lot of screws continue to come out, in which I'm not even sure why. Well, I think it's that screw particularly.
Okay.
So that's probably what it was. He continued to screw it back in every time I had to play it, and I was just like, well, not sure why.
So, yeah, you see that happen sometimes because, like, when I was talking about that key flexing, with that rod, like the upper stack, for example, with that rod screwed all the way in, this post was a little bit turned. And so with the rod screwed all the way in, once it bottoms out, that rod will just flex a little bit because it matches the post. So now the rod's flexed and it's got a little bow in it, and that's causing the key to bind a little bit.
Yeah.
And so on this saxophone, there were quite a bit of rods that weren't tight because if they were tight all the way, the key would bind. And so, that was just, I deal with that a lot, and it's not uncommon, but this saxophone had quite a few of those posts where you're like, oh, I spend so much time just to get one key working right. And same thing like with the tilting B flat spatula. Once that screw was in all the way, that was the same issue. So I was aligning those threads as well. And just to get that to work smooth and feels really nicely.
Yeah.
And you can hear how quiet that is.
See, I don't even want to touch it now because of how much you put in.
I put a ton of time into this one, and it'll be really reliable. I get my overhauls in that have been played a lot for a year or two, and they still look really good. So, I mean, it's.
Ooh, gosh. Wow. Oh man. Oh my gosh, yes.
And I told you that action will be addicting. Like you don't have to play the horn anymore. You can just push the keys down and be happy.
Literally just yeah. Wow. Yeah. Cuz it was always clicks when I played. It was just like, and everything seemed I can feel the pads like actually, because the time I've had the other ones, it would always go straight down. Like it felt more, I don't know, I'm not good with the words, but it felt like there was nothing. It was just going straight metal to metal sometimes. So this feels like, got some cushion.
The old pads were so hard. The leather will get hard, and the felt behind the leather can get water damage and get hard too. But usually it's just the leather will get hard and it'll be noisy, and it won't seal, and it'll just won't.
Not
like
good.
Those pads are probably considered medium firm.
And what's the pad you said you used again?
Those are Pisoni pads from Italy, and they're probably considered a medium hard pad. They're not a really firm pad, but once you get your pad seat in, they feel really firm. So, and those pads are so nice. I mean, those pads will last you
almost years.
Years and years.
So the pads I had probably were like a good, like way overdue, just to say.
They were bad.
Probably, from 2000 probably, I would say. But man, thank you again. I really would say. And you got the cork. That's what another thing. And a new, wow.
Oh yeah, all the pads are new. Jeez. And so another thing I do with the pads is, those pads are sealed from Pisoni, but I'll actually take a thin coat of lacquer and lacquer them, which makes them easier to clean off, and it does protect them and makes them last a little longer.
Wow.
And
so it's thought of that. Wow.
It's just it's a time-consuming process. And then I put plastic resonators back in it, which is what it came with from the factory. And I like to use a plastic resonator on the Mark 7s, and usually if a saxophone comes with a plastic resonator, I'll put a plastic resonator back in it. And so that's what I did with this horn, and I think it plays really well.
Yeah, I would say it's it's needing work now. It's probably like, man, come on, probably it needs to be played. How did it sound for you when you played on it?
I love it. I love the Mark 7s. It's got a lot. I feel like it's got a lot of color to it.
For but I would say that same thing, but I don't know why others get like different, what's it called, like the gold
Oh yeah,
thing
yeah. There's
with it.
aftermarket necks that it might be something to consider trying sometime.
Yeah.
That neck is in really good shape. Like it's never been pulled down, and I don't think there's any dents in it. So
I was just about to say the last time I've had it, it was loose.
Okay.
And now I told
Yeah.
Jeff about that. He was like, "Yeah, he's gonna notice that real good." So that's another thing that was a problem, is that air would come out through here.
Oh, yeah.
And it was not sealing. Sometimes this would come loose even too.
Okay.
So this, yeah, it was a piece of work, and yeah, wow. Thank you. Again, this feels, again, I don't even want to hold it now at this point. I fell in love with it already. I feel like now I would be ready to play
it's
with
a
it.
different horn, and it was so dirty too. Like it had so
Yeah.
much just.
You,
I mean, it was dirty. I mean, you do, and you bought it like that. So, I mean,
Yeah,
overall,
yeah.
but like the inside was pretty clean because you do a good job swabbing it.
Yeah,
But the
yeah.
outside had a lot of
like,
green buildup, and just from
Really?
the where the
Plain.
unlacquered parts are, or where the lacquer's been worn down. But
yeah, so I was given it to me, and it was, again, my first horn, and I play it, and I'm like, man, it sounds beautiful, but then going in front of someone who's actual, saxophone player, it's like, yeah, your horn's pretty much beat up. I don't know what happened. What did she tell you when she gave it to you, or whoever gave it to you? And it
Yeah.
was just like, they said it was perfect. So giving it to
Oh,
you,
yeah.
it sounded, and I
it
played the
sounds
upper
like
range.
that.
And,
The thunk, it just
Yeah.
sounds so good. And it's sealing really well when that low B flat just sings and resonates.
gosh,
Hey,
gonna be
I want you to
good.
play it.
All right, let's do it. I'm
Cool.
excited.
I'm going to get the microphone set up, and we'll be right back.
All right.
Yeah, it's rolling, so just play around and.
All right. Yeah, that is amazing.
Feel a little different?
Yes, like wow. Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
Nice.
Wow. Thank you. This
You're
is
welcome.
I'm trying to hold back my tears because wow, this really is a gift. Like I've told you the story. My saxophone got stolen.
I don't know if I did hear that actually.
Yeah, my saxophone, middle school, I had a concert, and it's for Christmas, and on Christmas Eve, my saxophone got stolen out of my mom's car.
Oh no!
So yeah, that's when I just got handed a tenor, and from there on, just played tenor my entire life.
Yeah.
Gotten introduced to Dexter, John Coltrane, and all of them, but then my teacher in college was just like, "Man, you should play the alto. What's going on?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm kind of scared. Like, I don't know what an alto really even feels like or sounds like." And he's like, "You should experiment." So now it's back in my hands. I'm just, it's great.
Yeah, you sound great on it. Is that a summer concept?
Yeah, I'm on a concept, and not because Dr. Landman is on it, but it really just brings out the tone as much more of much not easier, but it just matches what I'm trying to pursue in music, and it's giving me all that I need. Honestly, and it's professional. I want to become a professional, so I got to get everything that makes it sound like that in a way. So I told you about the Eastman guys that are like, "Oh man, you got to get an Eastman to really sound good." So
wait till they hear that, and if you're nice enough, let them play it. And they're
really, I'll be like, "Oh God."
I don't know. Maybe don't let them play it.
No, so the person I got it from, they also were, well, when I told Vince Konorek about it, he was like, "Are you serious? That's not common that people have Mark 7s and such. Like, it's really hard to find." So I probably believe in what you say. Like, if somebody gets this, it's going to be like a dream.
Yeah, so the Mark 7s are, I mean, they came out after the Mark 6, and so they don't have the reputation of the Mark 6. But in my opinion, they're just as good as a Mark 6.
Yeah.
And some, I mean, and they're different as well, so it depends on what you're looking for. But every Mark 7 that I've played that I've been able to overhaul like that one, I've thought, well, this is just as fun as anything I've played.
Yeah. It is honestly different from a marching band horn, I would say.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, like, what kind of throws people off is that the table keys are a little larger than
the actual...
than a Mark 6. Actually, I'll just grab one.
Wow.
I'll grab one like I have, I have a couple 10 or 15 laying around now.
Oh, man. Yeah, I can definitely.
Well, yeah, so the table keys, I'll bring this, see if I can bring this camera in a little bit. We'll just go take a deep dive on this thing.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that. There we are.
That's perfect.
So, yeah. So the table keys on the Mark 6 are that size, and you can kind of see by the size of my finger, I guess, might be a reference. And then you can see the size of, I'll trade you.
Yeah.
The table keys on the Mark 7 are just, they're wider. So that can be intimidating, but they're not hard to get around at all.
Yeah.
And then the same thing with the low E flat and C, they're larger than the Mark 6, but your finger's only going to go in one spot. It's not like you're
going insane.
Yeah, you find the comfortable spot, and that's where your finger rests, and they're perfectly functional, and they feel really nice. And the rest of the horn, the ergonomics are really similar to what a Mark 6 is.
Thank you. I appreciate it again. And the amount of time you put into it literally sounds like a saxophone now. And to sound like a Mark 7. That's how a Mark 7 sounds.
Yeah, it's so cool.
Oh, jeez. And it has a really good tone, and I've never heard that in my entire life of playing it. So, yeah. It's much more easier to transition with notes, and that's why I was playing this, because the time when I was playing it before, I couldn't get out the low notes at all, and even like those down there is very confusing of why I have to blow more air through to get that note to come through, and for that I forgot. I was like, wait, I'm not even blowing, and it's coming out, and just beautiful.
Thanks for tuning in to Scott's Music Cave. Hope you liked the video. I had fun. Did you have fun, Josh?
Oh yeah, for sure. Thank you. I appreciate it again.
You're welcome. All right, that's it. See you next time.
Catch you later.
That was fun. I think that.